Hey everyone, Ronald Ingram here, your Rebel Banker Futurist, broadcasting live right now from the Nevada high desert, looking down on the Luxor Pyramid. We're going out on X, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and everywhere the signal reaches. So, your Super Robo Banker is live. We are adding new users every day. Thousands, thousands, just over 3,000 users. And yet, many of you still have, many of our Spock stars have still not tried out, still haven't tried out BROK. So actually, that's a good thing because I think is going to be a really, really engaged community. Now, some of you have been extremely helpful, and I've had a lot of feedback on BROK and that has made a lot of difference. So we've been making incremental changes. If you sometimes if those of you who've been on BROK a lot, you might notice something changes with the context or whatever, because some of the changes have been rolling out live while you've been interacting. So seamlessly, BROK has been live for over a week now. It hasn't been a single outage actually. So that itself is extraordinary, and there have been and one of the big models that I use in the background, they actually decommissioned without notice, and so our backup contingency plans and tools, our whole stack has been tested quite a bit. We had all kinds of really interesting tests that we've passed, and continuously improving the responses, and some really interesting interactions with users who are very excited. So I've learned a lot from the customer discovery conversations where I've sat down and spoken with users or talked to users while they're on live. Those have been very illuminating. And I'm going to share some of those stories, which are really pretty exciting. Some pretty savvy people. I think I'm going to start out with one story because it's just top of mind. One of the target, BROK is designed for everything from the boardroom to the kitchen table, right? And also it is really quite adept at assisting business people, innovators, creators, and hustlers. Got people that are out there, the real ambitious entrepreneurs. That's another segment that makes sense, right? They're always looking for any advantage that they can find. And a couple of those types of people are people that I've been speaking with. And one entrepreneur, he was in the process of buying another business. He owns many businesses, many properties, and he was in the midst of closing on this new business, and I think some of his long-time financial advisors had maybe advised against it, and some were for, some were against, and also humans tend to have biases, and especially if you're an affluent person, a CEO or an owner, people are always trying to pitch you things, and often your advisors have an angle as well. Like maybe it's maybe a financial advisor who also their compensation is partially commission based, and they put your interests and try to put your interests ahead all the time. But all things being equal, they're probably going to push you into, and maybe have convinced themselves that the investment with a higher commission back to them, and there's lots of ways that these commissions can come back. They're not always straightforward. They're sometimes, I know because I was a financial advisor with Merrill Lynch, So I am speaking from knowledge here that, that, and I see what happens. So different funds, for example, have different management expense ratios, etc. So anyway, so he was a bit, and he wasn't really fully versed in the Ingram evaluation matrix yet. And so I said, well, let's try it. And so while we were live, he pulled up his plan. I'm not sure if he loaded his plan or just had the numbers, some of the numbers top of mind or on a piece of paper, but he ran that through as either as a PDF on BROK or keyed them in or didn't speak them in because he was on the line with me. And it was actually a three-way call, so there's some other people on the call, and so he went quiet for a bit, and he's like, came back, he's like, wow, BROK came back with, he was just amazed. This is a very sophisticated financial individual and businessman, and he came back and he was amazed. He's like, wow, I'm really impressed with how thorough BROK was in going through these numbers, and BROK even gave him the valuation of that the company that I wasn't privy to the whole dialogue, but came back to him with an estimate of what what would be a fair price for this business based on a multiple of EBITDA and sales or whatever it was that I don't even know. But the customer was very impressed and aligned with other advisory advice that he had, and BROK actually gave him a number that was that was higher than what he had bid. So he went away very happy, and I went away relieved because that was one of the first real tests. And but he's savvy, he's happy, and so that was good. And he understands that BROK is not a financial advisor, not an accountant, and this is for research and for development. And I think that he was convinced that BROK is the super robo genius private banker that I told him it was. And actually, he had a long-term relationship with a banker and who was a trusted advisor for a long time. And this is, it's an experienced, seasoned, intelligent banker for high stakes decisions for business people is something that really can make a big difference in the evolution of, if you're building an empire, that's a really key person to have in your corner. And but they are few and far between, and the quality of their service has been dumbed down and dumbed down and dumbed down because of all of the constraints placed on them. I will just put it that way nicely. And because it's a lot of times I think they would and could do more, but they're constrained from doing so because of all the liability and the constantly increasing regulatory burden and all the rules that they have to comply with. And it's, and bankers are risk averse, not only for their customers, but for their own livelihood as well. So the system is just not aligned to incentivize, in my opinion, the best for individual innovators, creators, entrepreneurs of any kind, or communities, or the nation as a whole. So this is why I'm pretty passionate about BROK and the impact that I think that BROK will make at scale, and with one person at a time. So so that's just one story. Another one brings out a whole use case that has been on the roadmap for a while, but I'm thinking that I may expedite it. So a vendor who is familiar with SPOCK and had been considering investing in digital assets and particular SPOCK, decided that they're a vendor of mine for other things, and they decided that they would like to take do a value exchange service for SPOCK, and then when we got into it, it's like the transaction is instantaneous with the new Genius wallet that you get on BROK, it's so fast. And especially for people, and he never had a crypto wallet or of any kind before, and this transaction was just so quick and so easy. He was amazed, and he said, wow, I would like to have my other customers, and he has hundreds, probably less than 1,000 customers that pay on a monthly basis. And I would like to have or not all of them, but I'd like to offer this as another means of value exchange for my services, to receive BROK, and a digital asset that can appreciate in value, where I get value instantly, and where there's no risk of a chargeback. The payment is final, and there are no fees. and so this is something that he was, we have a very sophisticated system mapped out that we're going to introduce for merchants in I was thinking maybe Q1 of next year. But even with Spock the way it is, with there's already the gifting capability, but there's also the send capability, where you can send Spock instantly between parties. And I've mentioned this before, between any two parties anywhere in the world, securely, privately, instantly, without fees. And then on the other end, you can, with one click, two people that have the Genius wallet, with one click, you can move that into your Phantom wallet or your any Solana wallet that you want, and it's fully fungible, so you can convert that into USD or whatever with another click. So anyway, that was pretty exciting, and see that there's that whole use case may evolve more quickly than anticipated, with significant benefits to the whole Spock community as a whole. Of course, because the more that Spock is used, that triggers buybacks whenever neobanks services are used. So the bio age calculator, the personality test, the business canvas, which is a huge deal, again, for entrepreneurs, something that I haven't talked, I think, about. It's a brand new thing that I just added, I think, in the last week, this business canvas, very sophisticated method but simple, that incubators insist on for their entrepreneurs to go through this process to create a business canvas, lays out all the aspects from marketing, operations, sales, technology, partnerships, this whole process that results in a one-page business canvas, business plan, essentially in one page. Very important piece, strategic piece, that every incubator that any entrepreneur might aspire to be in or is in. This makes their job a lot easier. And if you're not in an incubator and starting a business, it's a tool that is highly recommended for a reason. So now you don't have to read the book. You don't have to have a class on how to do a business canvas. It would be a 2-day thing in many cases, and with homework, and then come back the next week, and it's like a 2-week process. This can be done now in a matter of if you really know your business already, probably less than an hour. And you're getting the benefit not just of these tools, but you can ask BROK for explanations all the way along as you're going through these tools. And if you're just using the text, it's almost free. Now, I'll alert you that if you use the avatar, which is fun, the animated avatar and voice, you burn through tokens a lot more quickly, okay? So, but it's fun to show people that. And for my demos, I use that. And also it's great if your hands aren't free, you can have dialogue. You can speak to BROK, and BROK will speak back. So that's pretty cool, but you'll burn through tokens a little bit more quickly. If you turn those things off, then you can go for a long, long time. We give people, whether you're already a Spock star or not, when you click on brock.neobanks.com for the first time, you get 100 extra tokens to, and that may not, and that we know that the dollar value isn't very much, but you get access to valuable services for that. So the business canvas, 2 tokens, the Ingram evaluation matrix that the entrepreneur that I spoke about in the first part of this talk used, 2 tokens. So less than a penny for those services. And think about what my billable hours would be as a consultant to consultants like Bain and McKinsey, and I can't say who the firms are that I consult with, but most of the big firms and VCs and private and not private, large banks. And for 20 years I've been a consultant with Gerson Lerman Group, as well as others, ProSapient and others, and advising consultants, sort of the consultant's consultant. So paid by the minute, and you're paying cents for very, very little. And Brock has better recall than I have to admit it. Brock has better recall than I do. So so you actually are getting some pretty good, insightful, and it's only going to get better as well. Like think of it. We just launched this, basically soft launched a week ago, and the launch is tomorrow. And we've already gone through many iterations of scaling, of improving the interface, and so on. So it's only going to get better from here. And I just added another tool today. I noticed that just a little convenience. People sometimes, because I added, 2 things actually. So the family wallet, the sub wallet, that's activated now. So parents, and this isn't something that I really thought of as, I only have fur babies. I don't have kids. So I didn't really think about how big an impact this would have. But early days, a lot of parents created wallets, went through that whole painful process of having their kids go through KYC and through the whole hassle of setting up a wallet. Even and I had one crypto guy say, "Oh, well, they can use MoonPay as though that's supposed to be a streamlined way to enable onboarding and depositing and funding of Solana wallets." It is not at all like this. What we have with Brock is likely, prove me wrong, the easiest, simplest onboarding experience that there is in crypto, bar none. And so you can use a debit card, a credit card, any credit card, ACH, and it's using one of the most popular payment gateways in the world. So most people, every single case that I've encountered so far, when they go into pay, one of their cards is already pre-populated. And so they have to add their zip code or something, and boom, they're done. And they have additional top-up tokens. And then they can send to other people, or they can put their Solana wallet in and transfer a portion, all except the gift amount. So I've locked that gift amount in now, because the gift amount, those 100 tokens, they're not really worth very much in dollars, but they're worth a lot of in experience. So those 100 tokens are not to be, they're for use, to play with Brock, to test with Brock and all the different features and functions, and the personality test and all the new things that we're going to be adding, with the things that are there that are already very valuable from a wealth perspective and very valuable from a health perspective. Like, think about it. Isn't that a great starting point to find out what your biological age is as the first thing on your health journey? Put in your blood work and get data, a data-based answer to what your biomarkers are telling you about your biological age. And then you can talk to Brock and ask about protocols that are out there. And nothing is medical advice. Brock is not a doctor. I'm not a doctor. Nothing here is medical advice. It's for research and development. Do your own research. and yeah, nothing is, it's my own research and other biohackers research and other medical research, extensive, really good quality, peer-reviewed studies. All of these things are baked into these, the Genius protocol, or the Ingram X Prize protocol, I sometimes call it, which is coming out in detail, but actually you can probably access all of it in BROK right now. And if you want it, it's maybe a little bit more convenient to go to my Substack and get the table of contents in it's called the Blueprint. So search on the Blueprint in Substack, and that gives you the whole table of contents for 14 of the 15 chapters of Genius, Live Long and Prosper, the book that is coming out, I promise. And that has in table format, things that are in the protocols. But isn't that a great place to start for your health journey, and sort of know where you are, right? And or based on the latest, most advanced tools that biohackers are using, and principally the Levine method, a PhD, a doctor, a biochemist, well-researched methodology for calculating pheno-age and other ways of calculating your biological age based on science, based on data, and but with the full disclaimer. Before you even get into that, you'll have to click and say that this is not medical. You understand this is not medical advice. Okay, be crystal clear on that. So all of the how much does it cost to do that? Well, if you have your labs and everything, that's of course up to you. And you could just, if you have some of your labs or some information, you can key that in, and the averages are set by default in there in red ink. And but if you scan your labs, and it'll parse all the data in your labs for you instantly, in an instant, pre-populate all of the fields so you can see, and the red ink will turn to green ink, showing that those numbers have been successfully populated, and boom, you get your biological age calculation according to the Levine method, and if you're elite, the BROK method, which just makes a couple of adjustments, which are explained and logical. You'll get that output as well. So, but not that many. I don't know. I'm spending too much time talking about it, I don't think, but I'm a little bit passionate about that, because that really moves the needle for your family. Even if you don't care about yourself, people around you may, and your community may, your business may, your organization, your nation. You're likely a leader. You're likely a person of above average intellect if you're listening to this POCK talk. So you're likely creative. You're likely curious and inquisitive. I want you to live a long time. So look after yourself. Okay. Anyway, enough on that. So the official launch, I set the date because that is the birth date for my original AI project 22 years ago, called BuddhaBot. And so not all of that knowledge has been in there, and it won't affect your business questions, but it'll be interesting for those that want to explore outside of those areas. BROK is going to suddenly have this dump of additional information, sacred archives and literature from around the world, hundreds of different texts that no other I've asked, and none of the other AIs have. And it's all done properly, and I won't explain how, but copyrights and all of that are all honored. Clue is that some of these books are ancient, right? So sometimes copyright expires on those ancient ones. So that's kind of fun, but also philosophy and consciousness psychology, things that you really need to study if you want to be, if you really want to be an elite in AI engineering. If that's something that you are interested in or want to practice, that's something that that will put you head and shoulders above all the people that are scrabbling around for scraps and chasing their tails and going around in circles, in loops. If you want to get out of that maze and step up over and get a higher metacognitive perspective, which is what is necessary for the AI and for the developer to have an awareness of in order to be able to get there. And then it's heuristic. So it means it's self-learning. If you build it right, then it's heuristic. Like BROK is heuristic. It is learning as it goes. And that's why I was saying, I'm really, compared to BuddhaBot 22 years ago, wow, it was the BuddhaBot learned at a very, very slow rate. And BROK is literally a genius. So very cool. And then after this launch on the 24th, tomorrow, we have a date set for August, third week of August. I'll put the date in the comments. That's actually going to be in a theater on a really big screen. Tomorrow's just going to be on a big TV screen. In August, we're going to be in a theater. So that's going to be really cool to see BROK on 20 feet, the BROK avatar 20 feet high or whatever it is. So that's happening. That'll be a neat event, and there'll be interviews and things at that event. The press release that I've been talking about, that went out, and we've had quite a few engagements. I've been posting, it's been picked up. I think we've had 190 pickups, and 75 engagements, news. So news outlets have engaged and published articles or whatever. And so I've put a few of those out, and so that's good. And we've had 10.9 million eyeballs. I mean, and that doesn't, not people that clicked, but people that have maybe just in their periphery, but 10.9 people have been exposed now to BROK. And so why haven't we hit 100 million yet? Well, we started the process. So it takes 7 exposures. It's often said, and I think that this is true. So we've now had 10 million people have had exposure number 1. So the next press release will be exposure number 2. I have a TV show that apparently has a reach, according to the president of the studio, of 300 million. That sounds large to me. So no hype here, just quoting the numbers. So I don't know how many viewers that actually represents and what that actually represents, but it should be more than 10.9 million eyeballs, I would think. So, and that's an episodic, that's going to be weekly for 13 weeks at least. So that's going to get us the exposure. So I think, once we get, so we're seeing, and we've seen some traction. We also have institutional conversations that are still going on. You're starting to see larger and larger transactions that are happening. And I think that we'll see sort of a step change. So rather than incremental, we'll see, instead of trades happening in the hundreds, we'll see more transactions happening. Those will still happen, but we'll see more and more larger trades happening. So and that's just for those who are interested. This is a long-term thing, but we have short-term goals and gains as well that we've seen happen and that happen in this space, and we're more qualified to achieve those kinds of gains than any of our competitors, in my 100% biased opinion, but factually based, right? So name one. You may have seen that little comparison that I do. 10 points of comparison between a typical meme coin and SPOCK. Some really big glaring ones. 5 patents, 1 issued patent, 4 provisional patents. A meme coin doesn't have a patent at all. Even most utility tokens don't have patents that are backed up by patents. So that's one thing, and we are now have proven to you that we're this is not just Spock was not just an idea. From the beginning, I talked about the AI component, and then we named it. As soon as I had the provisional patent filed, gave you the name BROK, and we delivered. We're delivering ahead of schedule, actually. We could have launched today or yesterday, but tomorrow is the launch date, and that's really the beginning of the paid. I paid to push that press release out to all major media outlets and thousands of secondary outlets through syndication. So that was just the first piece, and pretty good uptake. And you have to repeat that several times to get the full impact of it. Be on TV, all these things. So that starts to get. We start after 7 instances of people hearing about Spock or BROK or seeing it. So we've got more and more people that see us on X and on these different on social media platforms. All of that compounds over time until you hit a tipping point, and then we really start to see the exponential levels of interest and everything that results in. So the next immediate thing based on customer discovery, and this is where the functionality is fantastic for this functionality that you have with BROK. The things that BROK is capable of doing are quite extraordinary, and we really have. I would say now we're past 20. We've kind of been between 15 to 20 FTEP on the website. In the brok.neobanks.com website, I've added more explanation about what singularity economics are, about what the FTP, what the FTEP represents, and now we have. In this last week, my work has been going faster. Our work has been going faster and faster all the time. And I would say we're at 25, 30 FTEP now. So we've reached new levels of efficiency. One of the things that I am working on that is a couple of the things that I'm working on that BROK is doing for me now that have increased the productivity of neobanks are a CRM tool that replaces all of Salesforce for a point solution. Now, here's how I can do that. That seems like a crazy claim. Salesforce is a multi-billion-dollar enterprise, but why? Because they have this huge bloated user interface that does everything for everybody, which is difficult to maintain. And for you and your business, chances are, like for a small businesses, Salesforce is overkill. And it takes you need a tutorial to learn how to use a lot of these things because there's so many bells and whistles that you don't use, that you will never use, that you may never even discover, because these systems get more and more complex over time as they try to please everyone, right? BROK has designed for me a CRM exactly only for what neobanks needs, and it's really cool. Imagine it can go through all of my emails, through all of my computers, all of my text messages. Imagine this for a realtor, for example. All the business cards that you lose, all the lists that you start, all of that consolidated into one, rather than you keying it in or piecemealing it, consolidating all of that into one tool, and then helping you to craft customized communication for each individual based on the narrative with that individual, and then sending that, and then sending it out for you and tracking it for you. So you don't even have to, it's just incredible levels of automation that are possible. And that's like a later thing, because I'll have to make sure that is really, really tight before that goes out. But that's the time savings for business people that have a lot of customers in high relationship businesses like real estate or automobile sales or anything like a lot of automobile salespeople, they're just order takers. The really, really great ones develop relationships with their customers and have maintained their own systems to track and maintain and develop relationships and remember and memory systems and systems to cultivate these relationships with their customers. And that's how they become, top tier in their industry. And that's the same thing in a lot of relationship-based industries. It's about knowing the customer really well and intimately. And BROK won't replace that. BROK is a tool for those superstars, those people that would like to be superstars, to be able to compete on that level and have even, I think it just occurs to me now, stream of consciousness, brokers, financial advisors, insurance people. I remember, top guys at Merrill Lynch, they would spend their own money to hire their own teams, and some of them licensed and many of them admin assistants and these whole teams. And their job was to prime and develop and the sales machine and the communications, all of that. Now you could have a genius autistic individual that has a rich internal life, but doesn't have the tools or inclination to have a lot of personal interactions and relationships with people. But no judgment from their machine, from BROK. They can talk as little or as much as they want, and BROK will, and they can send BROK off to handle the interactions with them and manage those communications. And then because a lot of times the best financial advisors are the best salespeople, not necessarily the most insightful. Sometimes I would see some of these really high producers at Merrill Lynch, and yeah, they were making big money and their portfolios looked good, but not because they were making good investment choices. It was because of their huge commissions that they were making on their sales, and their investment decisions were substandard in many cases. So bankers anyway, I won't go into a whole evaluation of all the different segments and all the different interesting types and that you find in all the different segments of the financial industry, but it's interesting. And BROK is helpful in all of those places. So just seeing that. So another one, the big one, and this one is more immediate, is I wrote a short, not an article, but just a longer text about auditing the auditors. And I'm big on this. If you've ever been burned by a financial advisor on the accounting side or an accountant, and especially the artists, as I've said many times, are prone to this because they're bored by the numbers. They don't really want to pay attention to the numbers. They really just would love to trust somebody and just say, please handle this for me, hand it over. And it's just, a kid in a candy store. Maybe some financial manager or accountant started out with good intentions, and it's just too tempting though to take advantage of the situation and pocket some dollars. And it happens. We've all seen movies and stories about it. So I, as you might have guessed, am not a big believer in let's just put it in the positive. I believe in self-sovereignty and taking responsibility for ourselves. And so if you have an issue, fix it. Go be the solution that you want to be in the world, right? So I was dissatisfied with the boring part of the financial world that I would delegate to people and burned one too many times. So I put a lot of effort into basically the CFO function and the accounting function here. So it doesn't mean that BROK is certified as an accountant, but BROK can audit you can get your audited financial statements and have BROK go through them. BROK can go, or save money, have BROK go through all of your financials, build your financial statements, then take them to an auditor, have them audited, but then check your auditor's work. Or, and I've seen many cases where the auditor doesn't get it, or, and it may be it's usually your fault because of, lack of transparency in your record keeping, not intentionally, but because if you are moving extremely quickly and doing a lot of deals, and if you have, let's say, 5 deals stacked up, the last thing you want to do is lose 4 deals ahead of you because the deal that you just completed, you didn't have time yet to have everything done the way that your accountant would like to have it done. And so you hand that off to your accountant. You say, make sure it's done. And that's how mistakes and gaps occur, right? So here, you can make sure that it's all done as you're going along. And then even now, if you had years where you had now to go catch up with things, BROK can go through all of that, reconcile all records from all kinds of different bank accounts and statements and all of this information. So that's something that BROK is doing for me already that I'm very excited about. And that's on the roadmap to come. But the immediate thing, back to the immediate thing, the very next thing is going to be an app. And that's where I'll take all the feedback that I've had on the user interface and to make that even, to polish that and make it simpler, cleaner, leaner, all of those things. Better design of the user interface. We'll save a lot of that for the app, and that's probably 4 weeks. So that may sound slow to you. In my world, that would have been 6 to 9 months and $500,000. We'll have that done in 4 weeks. I'm pretty sure. The only the Apple Store, the App Store is there are some things that are outside of your control. You have to pass all of their checks, and they move at their own speed. So but still, that's including that. I think that we can get that done in about 4 weeks from next, so let's say 5 weeks or so. And so that's next on the one of the next things on the roadmap. And also really, really high will be the NEO score. Wow, that is going to move. That is so badly needed. That's a little bit harder, heavier lift, but not really, because we have the patent, which is basically outlines the requirements, and have a prototype operational already. And with all the tools, and with BROK now getting faster and faster and faster, I think that's something that we can get done by the end of the year, at least for one nation. Maybe because the real power of the NEO score is that it gives people control over their own data, so self-sovereignty over your own data, and no more dependency on on legacy credit bureaus who have their black box credit score, which is very guarded. The methodology is now pretty well known, but it's not transparent. And they intentionally make it pretty difficult to, well, actually, I wouldn't say they intentionally do it. In fact, there may just be a victim of, again, legacy infrastructure. The system has been built up over a very, in some cases, over 100 years. Some of these credit bureaus go back into like Dun and Bradstreet, and some of them go back 100 years probably, and it was all paper based, and just so it's a system that is in need of a complete revamp. And also, what will happen? I'm not saying that NeoScore will replace traditional credit scores. Banks aren't going to do that, right? Banks are not going to immediately switch over to a new credit score. Regulators wouldn't let them, even if they wanted to. But bankers will, be more than happy to pay $1 or $2 for for additional data, not uncorrelated new data, a new data point that provides additional perspective and information on the risk for a new customer or new loan, for identity verification and underwriting risk. Banks as an additional data point. So that's the way NeoScore will be introduced. It'll be an adjunct to, in addition to the traditional credit scoring. But some banks, and I think more rapidly than historically would have been possible, and then with all kinds of new banks coming online all the time, and with, of course, on our roadmap is this global agentic banking system. This is a key piece of that. NeoScore needs to happen before the global agentic banking system can happen, because you need a way to measure risk, to underwrite risk in order to be able to do loans, unless they're 100% collateralized with liquid crypto, which is something that's happening, but that's limiting. There's no reason that you need to have a huge proportion of lending is done unsecured, and entrepreneurs need to be able to access unsecured capital or capital that is secured by ideas, normally fulfilled by venture capital alone. Who knows, maybe banks can participate more, provide even more liquidity to entrepreneurs in this global banking system with this new score and more liberal rules in the Vegas banking zone and all of these ideas that we're working towards. We've got a master plan that we're working towards. It goes for a long time. So SPOCK is here for a very long time, and we will be, each new product, I think, could start to, after people become more and more aware of neobanks, the brand, and all these products that come out, each new product that comes out could be a step change. You know what I mean by that, right? Like rather than a percentage increase of, a scaling type increase, so 10x type increase rather than like a 10%, 10x, right? Or 100x. These are the types of leaps, quantum, no, not quantum, that word that's overused, but leaps. And that's the kind of growth that we could, that I aspirationally, I have to say aspirationally, but it's logical too. It's a logical, there's a huge burning need for these things that I'm talking about. Now, if you ask many bankers, they would say, oh, or people with an 820 credit score or an 817 credit score. Like, in fact, one of the people that just put money into SPOCK, they didn't see really the need, because they had a really, really high credit score, and so, but of course, that's a very small group of people, and even affluent people, and that's. So this market that we have for the NeoScore covers the whole spectrum, from uber rich people, really, literally, that they don't, They have to pay cash if they come from a different country. They don't want to. It's stupid to pay cash. And I mean that. And yes, and no apologies. Yes, I realize that is a complete contradiction to what some of the pundits will tell you. But look at how the followers of those pundits that advocate zero debt, look at how their followers do, and then look at the. Now it's different if your goals are purely stability, lifestyle, autonomy, and autonomy is almost, that's my goal, right? That's self-sovereignty. That's the North Star. But that's a long journey, and you always, like Bob Dylan said, the singer, you're always going to serve somebody. So even the CEO, he serves a board. Even Pavel Durov, the CEO and founder of Telegram, who owns 100% of the equity of that multi-billion-dollar company, only has debt, by the way. So it connects to what I'm talking about here. He borrowed all the money and had significant resources himself. And on top of that, he leveraged to grow Telegram and never gave away any equity at all. So he calls all the shots, but so he doesn't answer to investors or board members, but he answers to his customers, right? If his product sucks, his customers are going to leave. So we are part of a community, right? So no man is an island unto himself entirely. So that's why self-sovereignty and community are both, part of the 5 core values that we have for any of the companies, and I have for any of the companies that I've always been involved with. Again, privacy, security, self-sovereignty, innovation, and community. So so these things are very big, very exciting, but I feel I could share these things with you more and more, because you've seen that this isn't hype. You've seen now that we are shipping 100,000 lines of code probably. So we are other things that we've done recently. So we have the website. So we've updated the corporate neobanks website. We have a new light paper. It's not so light anymore, though. It's more of a white paper now. It's quite a bit more dense, but thorough, good reading for the for those that really want to have something to chew on in the details. And some of the institutional, and that's some of the institutional investors that we have, or large scale family office scale people that we're talking to. That's something that they expect and require, and it's appreciated, and it's good practice, and I like that. I like to have good, solid documentation. So that's another thing, that big differentiator between us and your standard meme coin. Some people, and rightly so, some people say, why do you even compare yourself to a meme coin? That's a fair point. But in fairness, we started on Pump Fun, right? And so strategically and intentionally. So that's why I do have to spend a little bit of time saying, this, although there are meme qualities, Spock is a cultural iconographic, relatable, or maybe not relatable, but logical connection, logical figurehead and persona with which to identify what we are doing with BROK and our whole agentic banking system. The Spock character was later replaced by Data, right? Which is even that filled the same role as Spock. So Data is kind of like our BROK maybe someday, right? And So that is so that's why I do refer back to the meme coin origins, because that is part and will continue to be part of the fun aspect of what we do with and the culture that is neobanks, that is serious and very serious about privacy, security, self-sovereignty, innovation, and community. And but the community, in order to have community, you have to have fun, and fun is also is good for marketing, and you remember things when they're funny, or when they're inspiring, or when they are memorable, right? So that's key to marketing. Marketing is making things memorable. So POCK is memorable, hopefully, and everything ties together. I think you'll see more and more the deeper you dive into. This is why when I say do your own research, that's not just a tagline. I want you to do your own research and to do deep research. And as you've seen some folks that have done some deep research, they're uncovering Easter eggs all the time and coming up with great art, like Lark often reveals all kinds of amazing things in his art that are the result of doing some really deep research into this project and all the different facets of our persona. So the trading system that is actively in the works. I think there's even a placeholder on the web app now, and so that will be pretty cool. There's a lot of hype around it. We'll cut through the hype. We will share facts on systems, and we will show results from our own systems. I have put thousands of man hours into this already, and testing hundreds and hundreds of different models, maybe thousands of models. And I don't see all 1,000 models. I don't see 1,000 models, but I see the ones that are surfaced as the winners of these competitions that I have amongst AI amongst different, because we have a whole stack of agents. There's agents and tools and systems that we use that are all orchestrated and work together. And at the pinnacle of that is BROK, your interface to that whole stack, and to all the different tools, and eventually that'll be the access. You also notice that there is a placeholder in the BROK app for BROK to have his own wallet one day, where you can allocate funds to BROK, a budget to go out and do things for you. So I'll just leave it at that. But if you've been doing any reading about the agentic economy and things that agents can do, go out and buy things for you, for deals, opportunities. I'm not sure be careful what I say on trades, because that has to be done very precisely. So a lot of the work I'm doing there is on the compliance side of things as well. Because although we believe in self-sovereignty, we want to make sure that we follow the law as it is until it changes, which it is changing more rapidly than ever. Then that's encouraging. And thank you, those champions of change that are out there, like Tim Scott and Scott Bessent, and the new chairman of the Federal Reserve, and there's all kinds of superstars that are doing some really great things, I think, that are going to help America. I think actually America is losing ground though right now in crypto, or is dangerously close to losing ground. And so we have to be very aggressive and encourage our congressmen and senators to be aggressive, because America is not an island, and everybody wants to eat our lunch. And AI models in other countries and crypto initiatives, crypto platforms, we're barred right now from some of the best platforms that my trading systems will utilize. And some of my trading systems, you're going to see, I can provide the signals and the and the trades and the execution logic and all of that, and even automate and the automations. But Americans aren't going to be able to access some of those because of the regulations. So that's not going to make you very happy. And so and hopefully that's going to put more pressure on our congressmen and senators to pass the regulations and laws. And also, I'm not waiting around. I have this Vegas banking zone idea that I'm advocating for. I'm getting more and more people in the crypto community and leaders in the community and government officials and I've communicated with I've been communicating, sending information at least to the governor and our senators and through all channels. So we will continue to do that and advocate that. So and I will join forces with Crypto Monday, and I have been joining forces with Crypto Monday and different crypto actions to advocate for the latitude that we need to innovate in America. So those are the things that are going on. So I didn't really finish the idea on the family wallets. So it is so simple. So you can fund your Genius wallet with a credit or debit card or ACH, and just by clicking a button, you can enter any amount up to the amount that your credit card will authorize you to do. I've seen some very large transactions go through, and then you can just simply you scroll down in the Genius under the G in the BROK app. Scroll down under the G down towards the 2/3 of the way down on your mobile phone or right there handy if you're on a PC or a laptop. You'll see the friends and family, the sub accounts. So you can just put the Johnny, Jane, they put their first name, their last name, their name, their number, whatever it is you want to put in there for a nickname, and allocate some money out of your some digital assets, some SPOCK out of your main account. Put 100 SPOCK there, and or 1,000 or 10,000, whatever amount that you want, and then boom, it's allocated into that sub account. And this is a good idea because we saw that some kids they saw their SPOCK go from $10 to $1,000, and so they couldn't resist, and so they cashed out, and so I guess I'd probably be tempted to. You can't. It's really hard to think long term when you're that age, right? And talking teenagers, it's good if it's not all of them. So kudos to the nieces and nephews out there who hung on. Good for you. Keep hanging on. But for additional safety, parents, you might want to take control of the situation and create a sub wallet for your kid. It's so easy now, and it takes a second, and then those funds just sit there, and you can swap them out to their wallet when you think they're ready, and you get them set up with when they have a Solana wallet. You can one click, and you can flip those flip those tokens over to those digital assets over to their Solana wallet. All right, so that is a really cool thing. I'm finding that people are really excited about that. So and it's one of the less complicated things, and there's no fees with any of this, right? It's not so. Now, instead of going down, it's like, remember the ritual? Maybe some of you are old enough to remember the ritual of getting your first debit card and, just making a special trip down to the bank and signing all the documents. Like, this is so fast and easy. It's just like, boom, now your kids have, and then you can give them a little bit, maybe that's how you do it, and pay their allowances. So this is a great way, and this is the way that I introduced SPOCK to a lot of people in this local community who are brand new to crypto, was as educational, and also for the bankers out there. And if you're a banker and you have not done a crypto transaction and do not have a crypto wallet, do not at least have SPOCK, shame on you. Shame on you. You need to read the Satoshi paper, because that's the foundation of crypto. That is the foundation of Bitcoin, which is almost a different class of its own. It's the only truly decentralized digital asset in the world. Well, not the only one, but it is the one, right? So you need to at least familiarize yourself with that, okay? And if that's too complicated, SPOCK is another way to do that. And so you've got the old great of Bitcoin, which you need to know, and you've got the latest, greatest, cutting edge digital asset, which is SPOCK. So, and there's no excuse not to try it now. It's literally one click, and you get free tokens. Free. I can say that because it is free. There's no obligation. You don't need to put a credit card in first or anything. Just click on the damn link and get your 100 tokens and start playing around and ask it some hard questions, and ask Brock some hard questions and see what it comes back with. And then because the only way to learn is to try it out. The best way is to experience is the best way, as we all know. I think you don't learn anywhere near as much by reading about it or watching a YouTube. Just try it. So wrapping up here, went a little bit over again. So big day tomorrow, and the International Business Center, a great venue, and we will have some media there, and I don't think it'll be live streamed, but we will record it and share it as soon after as possible, and tons of things happening. There's going to be new health and wealth modules rolling out constantly. You've seen the pace that's only going to accelerate as Brock gets faster, as we approach the 100 FTEP mark. And now there's a whole, I even have the math, some of the singularity economics. I hit it, so you have to, but you can click on it, open it up, and see some of the equations that relate to it for the real geeks out there. And so I think that's all we have today, and I will keep you posted, and live long and prosper, everyone. Thanks for everyone for tuning in, and for your participation, your feedback. We're building this together. So this is very exciting, and one person can change the world. Us as a community working together, there's no limits to what we can accomplish. So stick with this, and we're going great places. It's going to be a great journey, and thank you all for bringing us this far, and look forward to the journey ahead. Live long and prosper, my friends.